I don't think we can know. Not that I'm making any sort of assertions. I'm saying that whatever you say, whatever necessary existence must be, whatever you assert must have necessarily created the universe. We can't know what that thing is. I think you're trying to avoid an infinite regress. What is the first cause, the uncaused cause? Well, perhaps there was one, but we can't know what that is. We can't say that it is God or that it is anything else. It could very well be a naturalistic explanation. I know you didn't give the Kalam argument, but if you're going to state that there's an eternal being that is exists outside of space and time, that is conscious, then I see no reason why I cannot posit that there is an eternal entity that is unconscious that expanded to create time. Because I don't think the universe was necessarily created, but time had a beginning. The material that made up the universe did not. If you go near the sun and you live what you believe to be a year on the sun, if you come back, everyone else on Earth would actually have experienced more time, because the more gravity there is, the less time. Imagine the gravity before the Big Bang, when all of the mass of the universe was at one point. I would argue that it is possible that there would not necessarily be time. Also, even if you're going to state that even if you are right about objective moral values and that you need to have a God for that, there doesn't necessarily have to be objective moral values. Even if I'm wrong about that, that does not prove the point. I want to again say that suffering is not the point here. Suffering is not what causes less suffering. Suffering is important and often beneficial when it serves a purpose. And again, my argument with the messianic prophecies of the past, it was easier to believe back then that someone rose from the dead, or that someone was the Messiah, even though they died, than it is today. And it happened. It happened only a short time ago, less than 2 decades ago. Someone died, and people still to this day believe that he's still the Messiah, that he's going to come back. If it happened today, it could have easily happened back then, more easily, and it could have easily grown into what it turned into. As well, we have recently uncovered a stone tablet, I'll be happy to post a link, that predates Jesus, which is specifically, they're not sure who it's talking about, but it's not talking about Jesus, they're pretty certain about that, that says that there will be a person that will rise after 3 days. So this idea was around at the time. So to say that this was something of a surprise, I think, is not correct. And I think that's... Oh, yes, and then as for the counterpoint to the debate, I would posit there is one small miracle that God could have done that could have saved so many more souls than would have today. And I did a video on this, and that was basically transportation, teleportation, whatever you want. If right after Jesus died, as he's about to ascend into heaven, he says, listen, I fed 5,000 people with food, magically generated food. I appeared to 500 resurrected. You're all here. So we've got a little movement starting. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send you to places where you guys can't get to right now because you don't have big enough boats. The Native Americans did not hear about Jesus for 1,400 years and didn't even really hear about him for 1,700. Because there was a period in which that the Europeans really didn't go around. God ignored an entire half of the world and allowed them to go to basically burn in hell without any chance of redemption, with no way to seek a relationship with Jesus, no way to accept Jesus into their hearts, because they didn't even know he existed. It would have been so easy, so simple, and so much proof. Imagine if Christopher Columbus had gotten to America and everyone was wearing crosses around their neck, even though no one had ever been there. If suddenly, right after the resurrection, there were 12 people that were transported around the world to places they didn't even know about at the time, how much evidence would that have been? How easy, if you can raise the dead, you can fly someone to Jersey. That's what I'm saying right there. There are so many things, so many small, minute things that would have saved so many souls, and yet God did not do it. And that is why I believe Christianity to not be worthy of belief, because I don't believe that it is internally consistent with its own philosophy.
Well, I would like to give my
MigKillertwo,
closing...
if you have any closing remarks, if you want to take a few minutes to think about what you're going to say first, otherwise just go ahead.
I'm going to quickly interject. This is going to be fun to watch on the replay.
Well, for my closing speech, before I actually get started, I just want to thank once again Honest Discussioner and UNF Wildcard for moderating this debate. I want to thank Honest Discussioner for taking the time out of his schedule to have this debate. And finally, I just want to thank the audience once again for actually showing up and taking the time to witness this debate. Now, with regards to the other points that Honest Discussioner made in his other speeches, with regards to the positive points that I've made in other speeches, I think I've said all that I want to say, and Honest Discussioner did bring up quite a few points that I want to address really quickly. First off, the Euthyphro dilemma. The Euthyphro dilemma, this is not really at all a problem, because we can just say that these things, these abstractions like justice and love and compassion, they exist, but these are mere descriptions. And through God's commands, they are given normativity. They are given oughtness. So I see no reason why that's really a problem, because even if these values exist independently of God's creation, it's no problem, because morality does not exist independently of God. It's still rooted in His commands. Now, the second point that he made is that in support of morality existing outside God, that we can discover morality. Now, the fact that we can discover morality is of no consequence. The question ultimately is, why does that morality exist? And given that morality is prescriptive, a mind can really be the only reason why morality exists. The second point, another point that Honest Discussion made in response to the Leibnizian argument, is that we can't know whether God is the explanation. But in my opening statement, I gave one argument in favor of God as the explanation, and that is the fact that whatever caused all of spatio-temporal reality must itself be immaterial, and the only things which can exist without material are minds and abstract objects. Now, I'm not saying that they do exist, I'm saying that they can exist. An immaterial mind is a coherent concept. And since abstract objects cannot cause anything, it therefore follows that the cause and or explanation of the universe is a mind. Next, you say that in response to the Kalam argument, I did not bring it up, but I would like to respond to this point. Time had a beginning, but the material that makes up the universe need not have began. I think this is a rather dubious metaphysic of time, because it treats time as an actual thing. And I would strongly contest this notion that time is an actual thing. But I would say that the material needs a beginning, because we cannot have traversed an infinite amount of physical events. The next point, you say that there doesn't have to be moral values. I think what you're saying is that we don't have to believe in moral values. But I would contest this statement, because I think that our moral experience and the fact that we immediately form beliefs about morality when we encounter moral cases, I think this gives us very strong epistemic grounds for belief